Hi, everybody, and welcome to the latest episode of Baseball Discourse. I'm Dan Lovallo. Today we're going to look back at one of the recent entrants to the Baseball Hall of Fame, Fred McGriff. He was inducted into the Hall of Fame last July. My paths crossed with Fred back in the early 1980s when I was broadcasting games for the Kinston Blue Jays, and he was a member of the Blue Jays team, a prospect on the way up after being acquired from the New York Yankees. And I wanted to broadcast baseball so badly that in order to get the job as a professional baseball broadcaster, I had to drive the team bus. So many times, Fred would keep me awake as I was driving the team bus from one city to another after a game at night, particularly if we were going back to Kinston, North Carolina. But Fred is a great guy, and he, on occasion, would be a guest on the pregame show. So this is a radio interview I did with Fred back in the early 1980s. Listen to that interview and then think ahead to what an illustrious Major League Baseball career he had with several teams, and now he's a member of the Baseball Hall of Fame.
My guest on the pregame show tonight is the first baseman for the Kinston Blue Jays, Fred McGriff. Fred, how about telling us how you ended up in the Toronto organization before we talk about what you've been doing with the Blue Jays so far this year?
Well, over the winter, when the owners go to Hawaii, I think it is, for meetings and stuff, I was involved in a trade along with Dave Collins, Mike Morgan, and myself for Tommy Dodd and Dale Murray.
And so you were signed by the Yankee organization, obviously. How did you get signed by the Yankees? How did they scout you? How about telling us how you ended up with them?
Well, in 1981, I was drafted out of high school by the New York Yankees in the 9th round. And this one scout, he just followed me around the whole season.
Were you aware that the scout was following you?
Not really aware, but because we had a few other guys on our team that was highly sought after. And it just happened that while they was looking at those other guys, that they seen me playing stuff.
Fred, where you from?
Tampa, Florida.
Of course, that happens to be the home of New York Yankees owner George Steinbrenner, among the many places that he lives. What was it like playing for the Yankee organization, and what were your feelings when you were traded?
Well, at the time, I was happy to be traded because it's hard moving up in the organization, the Yankee organization, because Steinbrenner buys all his players, and he never uses the guys in the minor league system, and they just rot right in the system. So I was happy about being traded, of course.
Were you always a first baseman?
Yes. I pitched one game in high school. I won like 6-5 or something.
No kidding. I know you faced a fellow by the name of Dwight Gooden in high school, and Gooden, of course, had a great game against the Blue Jays earlier this year, struck out 15 in a 7-inning game. How did you do against him?
Well, in high school, I hit a home run off for him, but in the Little Leagues, he struck me out 2 times.
Is he from Tampa, too?
Yeah.
Fred, how do you like playing first base? You seem to handle yourself around the bag so well.
Took a lot of practice, I say, with the Yankees, because, well, playing in Bradenton, we play at 12 o'clock in the daytime, and so we have to be up at the field about, say, 10 or something, and we practice for 2 hours before the game, so every day take ground balls, and the whole works every day.
Now, we want to congratulate you on being named the Blue Jays Player of the Month for April. You had an outstanding month at Florence, belted 5 home runs, and really did the job. When did you find out you were going from Florence to Kinston, and what went through your mind when you got the word?
Well, one night after the game, Coach Dennis Holmberg, he just told me to pack my bags. I was going to Kinston, and at the time I was happy, because I was swinging the bat well, It was from the Yankees, it was glad, because with the Yankees you never move up, and here, after a month I was already moving up,
Now, your batting stance seems to have changed a bit since when you first reported to Kinston. How come?
Yeah, because when I was with the Yankees, I held my bat real high, and they told me that I was going to have to change it sooner or later. When I move up to higher leagues, I was going to have to change it. But at the time, last year, it was all right, so I had no problem. But when I came here, sliders and everything, and with that swing I had, like an uppercut, slight uppercut, I just was missing the pitches, and good, easy pitches. The guys, they wasn't throwing hard or overpowering, same pitching that I seen in Florence. Not really no big difference. It was just, I was just missing the balls, uppercutting.
From the broadcast booth, it looks as if you've dropped your elbow a bit. Is that true?
Yes. Dropped it and I brought my hands down and wider stance now.
It seems to have helped. I know you're hitting better. Is it a coincidence or because of the stance change?
I'll say coincidence, and plus changing of the stance, because now I'm making better contact. Like before, when I had my bat real high, I was just striking out, striking out, striking out. Now thinking about the last 4 games, maybe 1 strikeout last night or something.
Fred, how about telling us how many are in your family? Give us a little of your family background.
I have 2 brothers and 3 sisters in my family, and I got a brother. He's in the Air Force right now in Germany, I think it is, and should be returning in September of this month. And I have a brother who lives in St. Petersburg, Florida now, and my 2 sisters live in Tampa.
Did any of them play sports or play sports?
No, they just football players. Both of my brothers, football players.
So how did you end up as a baseball player?
It's just, I guess I love playing sports, all kinds, football, basketball. I guess I just adopted baseball. You know.
When you were in high school, was it always a dream of yours to eventually play professional baseball, or would you have liked to be a professional athlete in any sport?
Professional athlete in any sport, but I always thought about playing baseball, and I used to tell all my friends one day I'm gonna play professional baseball.
And what would they say when Fred McGriff said that?
They were surprised. They were shocked when they found out that I'd been drafted and stuff.
Fred, from what you've seen here in the Carolina League, what's the difference between the league that you came from, the Sally League, and this league?
This league, you have better ball players, older ball players out of college, 4 years of college here, while in the Sally League, most of the guys are young, 18, 19, 20, something like that. Maybe only 2 years of junior college or right out of high school.
I want to go back to the days when you were a kid for just a moment. I know, and this is really going back some. When Willie Mays was growing up, he used to play stickball in the streets. What did Fred McGriff do to pass the time with his friends? Did you play sports all day when you were out of school? Just what did you do?
Well, mostly, in my neighborhood, I was the only one that really played baseball. All the other guys played football and basketball. So most of the time, I just played football and basketball with them.
When did you really start to seriously play baseball?
About 10 years old, Little League. Started out Little League, and
all the way through to
right, all the way through to now.
Well, Fred McGriff, you're playing baseball for the Blue Jays quite well, and we want to thank you very much for being our guest on the pregame show tonight.
Thank you.
Well, there you have it, my interview with Fred McGriff, who back in the early 1980s was playing for the Kinston Blue Jays after the New York Yankees had traded McGriff to the Blue Jays, and there was my interview with Fred before one of the baseball games the Kinston Blue Jays played, and now he's in baseball's Hall of Fame. As always, thanks for listening to and watching Baseball Discourse. I'm Dan Lovallo.